that I read was The Golden Compass, written by Philip Pullman. In this review, I will give a short summary, my opinion, and analyze the characters and conclusion of this book. Keep in mind I will try to keep this as spoiler-free as I can, but of course there will still be some spoilers. So without any further ado, let's begin. Lyra Belacqua and her daemon Pantalaimon are the stars of The Golden Compass, a fantasy novel aimed at the teenager and young adult demographic. This action-packed novel has a slow start, but once past the exposition, it's quite the thrilling read. Though there are some slow parts throughout, Philip Pullman manages to create an engaging story very well. Now I'll try to keep the summary short because I don't want to spoil anything for anyone who might want to read this book in the future. Also know that a daemon is essentially the physical embodiment of someone's soul because they are a big part of the book. So, living in Jordan College her entire life, Lyra and Pantalaimon hear about a peculiar and unusual particle called dust. It's not normal dust, but something much more. After hearing this, a mysterious woman named Miss Coulter and her golden monkey daemon take Lyra as their apprentice. Before she leaves, though, Lyra is given a mysterious instrument which only tells the truth. This is the aethiometer, also known as the Golden Compass. Meanwhile, a group known as the Gobblers is stealing children from their homes and families, taking them to an unknown place and doing forbidden things. When they steal Lyra's best friend Roger and trap her uncle with armored bears in the north, she decides that it's time for her to leave the comfort of her new home and go find them. Once in the north, she meets armored bears, witches, lost ones, which are children who have been cut from their daemons, and many other characters. Little does Lyra know, the fate of her world depends on her and the choices that she makes along the way. But the real point of this book review is not just to summarize the book, it's to review it. So what did I think of this book? Well, I enjoyed it. I thought it was well written and the details were used nicely to portray emotions and create vivid imagery in your head. These details definitely could have helped Pullman to fulfill his objective on writing this book. That brings us to the question, did the author fulfill their objective? Yes, because the whole story is revolving around dust, what it is and what its purpose is. Dust in this story is a metaphor for true sin, and the author seems to leave it slightly unknown on purpose. Philip Pullman tells you just enough about dust to keep you interested in the series and wanting to know more, but also enough that it makes you feel somewhat satisfied. I think any author's true objective is to leave their readers excited and wanting more, especially when there's a sequel such as in this book's case. So, the objective was met because I will definitely be reading the second book in the series. The Golden Compass also meets its main demographic as well because of its complex and intricate storyline. It has enough lore to leave the reader curious, but still some raw action to keep the reader from getting bored. Philip Pullman's The Golden Compass is also an engaging story, but the beginning could have been a bit more interesting. The first few chapters are people's first impression on the book, and basically decide whether a person wants to read it or not, so they're kind of important. Other than that, though, it's a very interesting book, and I would recommend it to others, especially those who are into fantasy books with a bit of emotion and mystery in them. I would also recommend it to people who like well-rounded and thought-out characters. Speaking of characters, the main character is who I will be focusing on. All the others were pretty consistent and had a good balance of assets and flaws. They were also not usually in the book for too long before Lyra left them and met other characters, so I really don't have much to say about them.